Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Marvin Constant Show. As usual, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm here with my co-host, Joseph, the man himself.
The weight really began to come off, and I was Oh, hey Marvin, how you doing? Sorry, I was reading this new book, The Physical and Mental Fitness at 40 Plus. Now, Marvin, don't understand this. You can get your copy at www.40plusstrong.com. So don't hesitate to get this copy. I got my autograph by the author. You may not get that, but hey. But
I'll see what I can do. See if I can track one down.
do your best. It'll help. You have been kind of looking chubby lately. Marvin, I do have some disappointing news though, and I need to get all serious a note. But this week, it was been reported that an Auburn football player was almost killed yesterday in a tragic horseback riding accident. He fell from the horse and was nearly trampled to death. Now, luckily, the manager of the Chuck E. Cheese did come out and unplug the horse. So that is good news. But unfortunately, he's still suffering from headaches during nap time. So this is another big blow to the Auburn community.
You really are special. I just want you to know that. You really are special. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest tonight. He is a very, very, very amazing and outstanding gentleman that I've known for a lot of years. When you think of Alabama football and the pedigree of football player, the pedigree of man that has been produced by the Crimson Tide, he epitomizes everything that you would ever think of or that you would ever even dream about when it comes to an Alabama football legend, the man himself, Mr. Jeremiah Castille.
And I love that introduction. I need to get you to come with me and give that every time I speak, brother. Hey, you got me ready to line up again and play. Marvin, it's great to be here. Thank you all for having us.
Thank you. Thank you again for being with us. It's a pleasure, as always, to have another one of my fellow Alabama brothers on with us. I know it's a tough time in the world right now with COVID and everything that's going on, but I know wholeheartedly that you're still doing amazing work around this country, around the world, touching and changing the lives of people. So again, I want to salute you for that because, I've always seen you in a very, very positive light. A lot of people, you see them in a positive light, but then you hear certain things about, I've never heard anything bad about you. It has always been nothing but respect. The times that I worked at your camp, those were some of the most enjoyable moments that I've ever had outside of playing football. So I want to thank you for that. And with that said, I want to get into the interview. You do these camps every year. So what was your motivation to put these camps together? What was the underlying goal? Because we all know it's all about touching lives. But what imprint did you want to put on them, and what was your goal for the camps?
Marvin, there's what I experienced at the University of Alabama under Coach Bryant's leadership. It changed my life in a very positive way, and I learned to think like a champion. And just being around Coach Bryant, I thank God for it. Every day. There's not a day probably goes by. I know there's not 2 days where his words are not, I hear those words. And so I just thank God for him. And part of what I do today, I feel eternally indebted to the place because of what happened in my life. We have a tagline within our with what we do in our foundation and with our academy it's 4 words: invest, influence, impact, and inspire the next generation. And that's what we attempt to do. Those 4 things that I received at the University of Alabama under the leadership of Coach Bryant, I feel obligated to give to the next generation, that next generation of young people. So for us, it's football camps in the summer and working with them and getting them young people, taking the time, with a camp for a 1 or 2 day camp. We invest in them. When we do, then we can influence. You influence, then you can impact. You can have an impact, and then you can inspire them to really fulfill the dreams and goals that they have as a young person. That's what happened for me at the University of Alabama.
Okay, again, phenomenal work. And I think that's the thing that always made me hold you in such a high light, because, like yourself, I always tell people when they come to me with something, with problems or whatever, I tell them all the time, I don't make excuses, I make expectations. So, it's all about how you align yourself with what you want to achieve in life. And you've definitely done an amazing job at that, especially with your boys. So having boys, what is it that you instilled in them to make them as great of men as they are? Because they did turn out to be some very great men, even though Tim has them bad knees like me, but I understand.
Hey, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about it. This probably is a father, some father counsel and wisdom to whoever listening. Man, let me tell you, at Alabama, well, 2 men, my father, first of all, and Coach Bryant, those 2 men I had the utmost respect for. I don't have a higher respect. I have not over almost the 60 years that I've been living than my father, Joseph Castille, and Coach Bryant. And what I learned from those 2 men as a father, as a young father, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to give them what they gave me. And so I think it starts with the fear of God. It's that, when I say I fear and I say that in a positive way, okay, not in a negative way. That is that my dad, real quick, my dad took me to work with him when I was 12, 13, 14, 15 years of age. And you said something a minute ago, and that word was expectation. So when we went to work, I had a responsibility. He set the expectation. Hey, I want this done. Boom, 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 boom. And he would leave me with it. He'd go to another part of the restaurant. When he come back, it better be done. And I get to Alabama, Coach Bryant's got high expectations. Hey, man, my freshman year, I could hear him now saying, well, we just going to be national champions. He didn't talk about being SEC champion. None of that. Hey, we're going to be national champion. He set that expectation. And when I heard that as an 18-year-old freshman, and he had a ring, he pulled out one of the 5 rings he had at that time, and he showed it to us. I was like, man, I want one of those. He set that expectation. He set the bar high. And I just thank God for those 2 men that taught me that the price of success is high, but so is the reward.
Yeah, those are all great lessons to learn. So having the pleasure of playing for the Bear and now being the chaplain under Coach Saban for all these years, I got to ask you, what makes the 2 of them so great, and which one is the better coach?
I'm going to answer that first question. I'm going to skip that second one, brother.
How did I know you were going to skip that second one?
I'm going to compliment both of those, man. I'll tell you that as I was sharing with you about expectation, what they have in common to me tremendously is their tremendous expectation. They set it high. Spirit, really, I would say the word is spirit of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit of excellence. And so they set it high, and then they're willing to do the work. Coach Bryant was willing to do the work. Coach Saban is willing to do the work and doesn't back down from it. I get a chance to speak all over the Southeast, going to different pulpits, different churches. And, You know, you got LSU fans, Auburn fans, Mississippi State, and I like to kid them. I said, well, you know, you might not like Alabama right now. You know, they're supposed to root for their school. I said, but let me give you a little insight as the chaplain. I said, long as Nick Saban there, you probably going to get beat.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people don't understand, you know, when you deal with coaches and certain business people that perform at a high level, just the way that they think, their drive, their determination, it's completely different than the average everyday person. You know, most people, if you sit down with these type of people, you would never understand how they operate the way they operate, because most of their days they're going to be planned from start to finish a week or two in advance, if not a month or two in advance. They're always on schedule. You know, it's always, I got to do this, and this, and they're going to go get it done. That accountability, setting expectations, not making excuses.
The word, as you're sharing that, the word comes to mind, both Coach Bryant and Coach Saban, is discipline. Highly disciplined people, very highly, and they teach. And what's the blessing for the young men that have come through over the last 14 years under Coach Saban is that they're getting that success principle is being instilled in them. And I just got a real neat story to share with y'all for that. Our youngest son, Caleb, walked on at the university in like 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. And he had scholarship offers. But I told him, I said, we'll pay for leadership. I said, son, leadership is worth paying for. And I knew the type of discipline from being around Coach Saban as the chaplain, you know, and that's what I had experienced under Coach Bryant. And what he's doing today as an actor and his success, he'll sit and tell you, he said, man, them 3 years as a walk-on at Alabama, he said, Dad, the thought process, again, the discipline, people might not think about it, but to make a movie, that's hard work. Tremendously hard work. To be when you watch something on television, it's a lot of work go into it, and that's what we found from, you know, I found out from Caleb, from him just sharing it with me. But he said it prepared him for what he does today, because he may pull up 18-hour day.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand, you know, I did a little bit of TV work, and then I stopped because I wasn't really feeling it, but now they're trying to drag me back into it. But we actually shot the pilot for TNT's Beast Mode, based around the life of Ann Wolf, the female boxing trainer. And, you know, when you got 5, 6 different cameras pointed at you from different angles, you can't look at the camera. You got to remember your lines. Anika Noni Rose is over here talking back and forth to you. And, you know, it's impressive when you're shooting with Anika, because, you know, she's a perfectionist. I don't know if you know who she is, but that is a lot of pressure.
Yes. And you have to be at the top of your game.
Very much so. Because, again, nobody has time for you to keep making mistakes, because time is money in that industry.
He said, so what he says, he said, man, you know, when I walked on at Alabama and I had to cover Julio Jones in practice, he said, man, he said just the discipline that it took and what it takes. But I believe that though I would say the discipline and the expectation and just the desire to be a champion and not compromising that's what they have in common.
Right.
Well, you know, y'all talk about being on TV and everything. It's a funny story. Everybody says I should be a comedian, but unfortunately my wife, my kids, my parents, my school teachers, my old classmates, my coworkers, Marvin, my aunt, my uncle, my nieces and my nephews, they all say I shouldn't be a comedian because I'm not funny. But other than that, everybody else says I'm pretty funny. Anyway, Mr. Castille, what was it like meeting Bear Bryant for the first time? And can you tell me the story when the first time ever you meeting Bear Bryant?
I went on a recruiting trip, 1979, and I think Alabama had been playing Ole Miss or Mississippi State, one of those Mississippi schools. And Coach Jeff Rousey, who recruited me at the time, he was played linebacker down there in the 70s. He actually took me up to Coach Bryant. You know, Coach Bryant was about 6'4", he's kind of a tall man. And I had followed. I became an Alabama fan at probably about 10 years of age. And I became one through watching the Coach Bryant show on Sundays. You know, and at the time, Woodrow Lowe was an All-American linebacker there. And so I would watch the show, and that's where the vision, you know, for me is, hey, I want to play. I still hear Coach Bryant saying Woodrow Lowe on the tackle from Phoenix City, Alabama, bingo. And I'm like, man, I want to do that one day. So when I met him that fall of 1979, I mean, I actually fall of 78, my senior year. As I, you know, went up to shake his hand, I said, man, I'm actually meeting a living legend. Because I had been an Alabama fan for probably 8 years or so. I'm sitting here meeting a living legend. And I'm going to have the opportunity to play for him.
All right. I got to ask you, any stories or memories of him during practice or at the game that we actually had one of your old team members, Stephen Rowland, and he was telling some stories of Bear Bryant. You got any stories that probably make Alabama fans laugh?
How much time you got?
For you, Mr. Castille, we got all night.
Oh,
now,
man.
Your wife would be mad, but for me as a fan, this is like the greatest day of my life. But please proceed.
Hey, Coach Bryant, I never met anybody that knew what to say, when to say it, and how to say it to a team to get them ready to play. If you go back 1982, we got ready to play Penn State. They came in ranked like number 5 in the country. And anyway, Coach, we were sitting there getting ready to have a pregame meal. And I'm a senior. And this, you know, I'm getting ready to play Penn State. We kind of had been dominating that series when we started it back. We went up there and beat them in Happy Valley. And as a junior, I was a junior, and I had a great game. But anyway, my senior, so I'm sitting there, and I'm feeling, you know, we're sitting there getting ready to eat pregame meal. So, you know, sitting there at the round table, my roommate was Eddie Lowe. We always ate together. And I was kind of fumbling around on the floor. I don't know what I was looking at. Well, anyway, I got this sharp elbow, like from him, like boom, boom, hit me in my ribs. Said, man, you need to get up, step, you know, hold your head up. And when I did, it's Coach Bryant coming to sit down at our table. He said, morning, man. And I'm like, morning, Coach, but my appetite just left. I don't eat anything. So he's sitting there, he speaks to us, and within a nanosecond, he goes from 0 to 100 in his personality change. Kicked back from the table, he said, every doctor, player, trainer, coach that don't have a blankety blank tie on, you better go get it and don't come back until you do. Well, we didn't normally have to wear our tie at the pregame meal. Man, and can you imagine everybody scrambling, running to get their ties? So he shook it up, right? He just got everybody, man. Well, we never had to have a time. Boy, guys, people are scrambling. You'd have to know. Coach Bryant gave order, boy, you better go get your tie. Well, what he knew was a couple of guys had gotten on the back, came in the second door of the bus and didn't have ties. So he knew that. They didn't wear their ties. One of those guys was named Rocky Colbert, played safety with we both played in the secondary. He's a Florida guy. I always tell Rocky, man, something, your elevator didn't go all the way up to the top. But anyway, he didn't have a tie. Well, we got 2 or 3 guys don't have their ties. We're staying at the hotel right there outside of Bessemer, in Bessemer. Guys are literally going knocking on people's doors. People come to their door, ask, "Can I borrow a tie from you, sir?" They didn't have a tie. They couldn't come back in at me. You better go find a tie. But anyway, guys are scrambling trying to find ties. And Rocky Coburn had on a lime green polo golf shirt. You can imagine a lime green polo golf shirt. He walks back in the pregame meal with a big black velvet bow tie on about this big. That's all he could find. Everybody's looking at Coach Sylvester Kroom. So, and man, we just start. They're laughing. The coaches are laughing. They're on the floor laughing because that's the only tie he could find. Well, Coach Bryant is sitting right across from me. Everybody's laughing. You think I was gonna laugh? I couldn't laugh. So I took my napkin, cloth napkin. I act like I was looking at something, and I took that napkin and stuck it all the way to the back of my throat. But I had never seen that combination of a lime green shirt and a big black velvet bow tie on about that big, man. And but we went on out and beat Penn State that day. Coach Bryant shook it up a little bit but he just had those ways of having a feel for the team, knowing when guys were too relaxed or that type of thing.
You went on to play in the NFL, and you went to play in Tampa. How was that playing in Tampa, coming from Alabama?
You really want the truth?
I want the truth.
Miserable. Absolutely miserable. And I say that because I wasn't used to losing. And I didn't like being around people that were losers. And you have a lot of college athletes come out of storied programs where they won championships. Man, you get to the NFL, man, it's a different philosophy for a lot of teams, not all teams. And I struggled. I started, but I struggled because the approach to the game by the leadership just was not like what I had at Alabama. And so, Marvin, we were 1-15 my rookie year.
That was a long season.
How about this? The next one, 2-14.
Y'all even trying?
That's what you would think. You want to hear what the third year was like?
What was that one?
Like 3-12.
Well, at least you got one more win every year. You were going up. It was just a gradual up.
But when I say miserable, that's the truth. I had never been around people that did not care about winning on just the number of people, from players to management.
Well, now when you look at Tampa, it's a completely different team. You got Tom Brady there with all his weapons. What do you think Tom Brady's ultimately going to do for the Buccaneers franchise?
Change their philosophy, change their expectation. You already know what his expectations are. He and Gronkowski, they know they're the epitome of the ultimate professional football player that has approached the game in the proper way and have walked away with the championships to prove it. So that's what I think he brings.
All right, I got one last question for you. Favorite memory from playing at Alabama?
Oh, my favorite memory would be probably the last game I played. My last game was Coach Bryant's last game, my senior year. So that's the Liberty Bowl. I went into that game. I set a goal of 10 interceptions for the season going into my senior year. I went into that game needing 3 interceptions. I had 7. And yeah, guys don't get 10 in a career down there.
Right.
But anyway, I had 10 in the season. But so we go into that game, and we play in Memphis. Coach Bryant has announced his retirement. And right before the captains got ready to go out, Marvin, I had this strong prompting, I feel like, from the Lord to say something, to get up before the team and say something. Well, really to say something to Coach Bryant. And I was a quiet leader. I didn't talk a whole lot. But this prompting was so strong that I just obeyed it. And I raised my hand. I said, Coach, can I say something? And he nodded yes. And I said, Coach, I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me. I said, 4 years ago, I came here as a 18-year-old boy. Tonight, I'm leaving as a 22-year-old man. And I said, Coach, ain't no way we're going to lose this game tonight, even if I got to play it by myself. But anyway, what I looked at, 20-something days later, Coach Bryant passes away. So what the prompting was I was able to share with him a public thank you in front of all of my peers and tell him thank you for what he'd done for me, because I never got a chance to speak to him after, from that point on. He died in January of 1983. But emotionally, I was so in such an emotional place. I walked away from that game being the MVP, 3 interceptions and caused a fumble. So I caused 4 turnovers in that game. And I just was playing lights out, man. There's no way, that we're going to lose this game tonight. And everything that I've got in me, I'm going to leave it on the field. And so being the MVP of that last game is just my greatest and most fondest memory.
Nice. Congrats. Not everybody can put the team on their back. That's very impressive, very commendable. Again, discipline and expectations.
I tell people that night, if it moved, I hit it. Bro, I was trying to knock them. Hey, matter of fact, if today I would have had so many targeting calls on me.
That was
I couldn't have finished the game.
I was talking to Antonio about that, Langham. That's what we was talking about. Like, yeah, I'd have been kicked out of every game I played in. Yeah.
Mr. Castille, where was you at when you heard the news of Bear Bryant dying?
I was at Bryant Hall. I was at the dorm when Coach Bryant passed. Yes, sir. And just the shock of it was, man, Coach Bryant was so great. You didn't think about him dying. To be honest with you, didn't. He was just that great a personality in person.
Well, my last question is, I know you played in the Super Bowl. Well,
20.
Yeah. What was the memories and the events that week, the memories of the events that led up to the week of the Super Bowl? And what was it like playing in the Super Bowl?
Actually, it was a dream come true. For me, I had left Tampa that year. And I got a chance to play actually in the AFC Championship game in '88 against the Cleveland Browns and actually make the play called the fumble that put us in that game in the Super Bowl. So, when I look at making that play and where it is today on, the NFL's greatest plays. So I was actually coming into the Super Bowl on a high, just off of that AFC Championship game, ready to play lights out. And we walked away. We lost that game, but I reckon for me as a personally was that it's not many guys can say they had an interception in a Super Bowl game. So I did intercept the ball in that game with Doug Williams being the MVP of the game. He just played lights out that day, Doug Williams did. And I had a chance to intercept the ball, and but you know, again, you want to win the game. You want to be Super Bowl champion, and so it still was kind of a disappointing that we didn't win the game.
All right. Well, we just want to thank you again for sharing your time with us. I know you're a busy man. You know, you probably got people pulling at you from every angle. So, again, I just want to thank you. And if I could ever get these knees to cooperate again, I would love to come work some more of your camps. But,
hey, I got your number. You know, when this thing passed over, Marv, I enjoyed you working them. What you bring to the camps, man, we love it because just what you've accomplished. That's what the young people need to be able to, I call it, feel in touch that, hey, because what I tell them is you're going to live more life without football than you are with it. So that's what I appreciate about what you've done with your life, and that's what we want to be able to help inspire young people to help prepare them for the day that they're not playing.
Well, you know, it was due to all those that came before me that set such a, you know, positive and high expectations as well, you know, because, again, coming from Alabama, playing Alabama, you know what's expected of you. So, again, yeah. I just want to thank you and all those who came before me who set that expectation because, again, like you said, in some programs, there's no expectations. You just walk away and you go on about your business and nobody even thinks twice about what you're doing as an adult. But Alabama, it's a different standard, different set of rules. And I just want to thank you for helping to set those rules and holding a lot of people accountable by your own action, leading in silence.
Well, you said something I want to this is a commercial if y'all got time. I'm going to close with it. We're at, you know, next season, the 2021 season will be the 50th year of integrated teams that Alabama has fielded. And Coach Bryant coached the first one in 1971. So from 1971 to 2021 will be 50 years. And we're going to celebrate that with those guys that went ahead of us, those guys that played in 71, 72, 70. So next year, and Marv, I'll get in touch with you. We plan on doing an event called Night of Legends here in Birmingham, Alabama in May of 2021 to celebrate 50 years ago, the first integrated team playing at University.
Be there.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for tuning in to the Marvin Constant Show. Thank you to Mr. Jeremiah Castille, a true Alabama legend among legends, might even be the legend of all legends. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in.